Hello everyone and welcome back to the Epic Skysignal, where we're your hosts with the most.
In today's episode, we are going to review one of the biggest anticipated blockbuster movies.
That's right, everybody. Today we're doing Captain America Civil War.
Spoiler alert, it should have just popped up, so you guys know. We wanted to give you a heads up, so
Close
you
your
know.
ears, close your eyes, click away. Jumping into it, bullet points for today's review. We have characters, we have plot overview, our opinion, and then our overall rating of the movie. As many characters as this movie has, we have to stick with just those three and just jump right into it.
Let's start off with the person who is named after the movie, Mr. Captain America.
So remember, guys, this is a Captain America standalone film, not an Avengers spin-off. We will not be seeing Thor or Hulk in this one. So getting into the fact that we loved his new suit, kind of an homage to the previous Avengers films, where it was more cartoonish. This one was more darker, kind of like how within Winter Soldier it was more of a stealth suit, more combat related. We get to see our first little glimpses into the relationship of Agent 13, Sharon Carter, for the first time. And we also loved his overall performance. There was so many sides to the character this time, rather than just, you have your mission, and he went and did it. So he was right at some points, and he was wrong at other points. So overall, I think we all enjoyed his performance.
Indeed. Now moving on to the other side of this big fight, we have Iron Man, or AKA Tony Stark. Sorry about that. For those of you that have seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Getting right into it with his costume, loved the new Mark 46 suit, is what it was called.
Yep.
It's the very sleek, almost ninja-like, with the retractable headpiece that looked awesome. The light pieces throughout the suit were amazing. I love Iron Man as a character. We loved Iron Man as a character altogether. He did awesome. When it comes down to it, we loved his emotions, both new emotions and continued emotions when it comes down to it. You see a lot of his continued emotions with his regret and sadness for all the previous events that have happened, and kind of this burden on his shoulders of wanting to help this team be the best it can be without the least amount of casualties possible. And it was really well done that way. So overall score, awesome. When we think of Robert Downey Jr., I think of Iron Man. Yeah. We think of Iron Man.
Yeah. Like in the first movie, when he says, "I am Iron Man," Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Through and through.
Yep.
Through and through. We're going to jumble up a couple characters. We're going to talk about Vision and Scarlet Witch. Those two and their little love interest, their little cook-off that they had,
awesome.
Was pretty good. Scarlet Witch's show of power when she started to just dominate there in the battle. Oh, also, yeah. Vision's back and forth with humanity, like his little clothing addition that they added to that costume.
Yeah.
Hawkeye and Black Widow. Those two and their little mid-combat conversation
was awesome. That
was pretty good. Yeah. Through and through for all those characters, their costumes didn't change that much. They were still good costumes. So yeah, we definitely liked their performances during this Captain America movie.
Yeah, well done. Very well done. And I think moving on to the two best friends of our two main characters.
We've got War Machine for Tony Stark, and we've got Falcon for Captain America. Speaking of friends, we've got the first appearance of Falcon's little friend, Redwing. Not the traditional bird, but more robotic, and giving upgrades to the...
So cool.
To Falcon.
Yeah.
And War Machine, he got an upgrade on his suit. It's more combative, more, shall I say, awesome, in fact. He got that new billy club, kind of, like an electronic billy club.
Very involved with the scene.
He was more, not off on the sidelines. He was definitely in the fight. He was part of it.
Yeah.
So moving on to the least known of the entire Marvel Universe as of yet when it comes to the movies, you have Black Panther. Okay? Now, Black Panther, loved him. Yes. Loved the casting. It was really well done. We loved the awesome black sleek suit with the silver outlining was amazing. And it was just so cool to see that involved with his very acrobatic like landings and jumps.
Yeah,
and
that majestic movements that he had as a panther.
It was very well done. I think when it comes down to his performance overall, did really well for what it needed. I think he had some big shoes to fill for this, and I thought the actual casting of that was well done. I thought he pulled it off pretty well. The accent was good.
He definitely filled the mantle of Black Panther really well.
Yep. I totally agree. And so overall performance, pretty good in our book. Not a flawless performance, but definitely good here and there is what we
definitely
what
good
we
for his introduction to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's get into the little bit smaller role.
Exactly.
So definitely getting into the shoes to fill. We have Paul Rudd returning as Ant-Man, the pint-sized hero, if you will.
Awesome.
So we got to see his new suit, his upgrades to his suit. Then we get to parts of the fight scene, and we get our first glimpses into Giant Man, which just
huge.
Stole the screen.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Really well done. That was a huge iconic thing that they didn't spoil in the trailers, which was awesome to me. You didn't see anything related to... We knew he was Ant-Man. We didn't know he could be Giant Man yet.
Yeah, we didn't think that he would turn into that version of the costume, which is amazing. And you were talking about the costume.
The costume, the new tech, they finally gave him the upgrades that he's known for in the comics.
The third bringing in character that they did, my all-time favorite superhero, SpiderMan. Amazing. They did so good with him.
Oh, yeah.
Just the casting for him, being that young kid from Queens. I love how they had to throw that in there with the Captain America joke. Brooklyn. That little relation that they had. They're like, we're fighting, but we're still communicating just like everybody.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's suit was great. Sleek.
So cool.
Good. The mechanics and everything. Iron Man building that for him. I do like how he had the mask like halfway off of him.
Yeah.
That was great.
Awesome way to introduce the new suit. I loved it.
Amazing.
Loved it. So cool.
And then as for his little minor role as Peter Parker, they didn't have to kill Uncle Ben again, which was we don't need our little handheld when we go through Spider-Man anymore. So they did fantastic with Spider-Man.
We're just getting right into it.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. Spectacular.
Exactly. Yeah. So moving on from the newly introduced, brought back characters, we have the last hero, you could say, but also partial villain in the movie.
Definitely.
When it comes down to this, we have Bucky Barnes. Okay, not a huge change to the suit. The one big thing I will say is they emphasized his metal arm much more, showing the big, awesome red star on the shoulder. The movement of the hand, almost like it has a mind of its own when the key words were being said in the movie. I don't want to ruin too much of that. But with all that being said, we loved how there were so many emotions from him. You didn't know whether he was a good guy or a bad guy at certain points. It was really well done that way. I will say we talked about how there was some indecisiveness of him saying whether he shouldn't be there or be there, almost kind of complaining at certain times. But he also showed great friendship with him and Captain America, because at the end of the day, they're childhood friends, and that's really what they strive to be, and Cap just wants to look out for his buddy, and you can't hate him for that. So Bucky overall did good, once again did well, and played both the supportive hero well and the villain part of it well. Yeah. So moving on to probably the biggest presence, you could say, of a villain in the movie, we have Baron Zemo. Now, when people that know the comics or know his character, they think of this crazy dude with this purple costume, maybe even a crown or some big sword that he carries around. Also intelligent character. We didn't get that in this, which in certain aspects was okay, but certain aspects wasn't necessarily okay. We thought the casting could have been a little better. There's some mixed, discussion on that with us, but could have been better. I thought it was okay, but here and there.
Jumping into plot, beginning of this movie, we love how they cut back into the past, and then they brought it forward for that circle of events to tie in the whole plot. How they took the event that happened with Crossbones, and the government was like, hey, we need to have a little bit more hearsay of what goes on with you guys, with the Accords and that separation of the team, how one team was with it and the other team just wasn't okay with the government running them. I love how they did all of that, how they flawlessly made the arguments. They weren't arguing, they were just communicating the whole time, which leads into the big
conclusion, the middle scene. That's that iconic fight between Captain and Iron Man's teams. So we have a lot of emotions going on at this point. We've got anger, frustration, sorrow, sympathy with Vision and Scarlet Witch. They don't want to fight. You can even see with Black Widow and Hawkeye that they don't want to fight. They're pulling their punches. I mean, there's even one point where they say, are we going to be friends at the end of this? And it depends on how hard you're going to hit me. So there's definitely a lot going on there. We get Bucky and Captain trying to escape, and then that leads into probably one of the turning points for this battle after everything's been said and done between the fights.
So then moving on from there, you have this huge conclusion to the entire movie as a whole, starting off with Black Widow changing sides and causes a huge plot point with Vision showing his weakness, War Machine being hurt by that weakness, this awesome mood swing to the villain's whole plan being revealed, and you find out this huge spoiler of Bucky killed Iron Man's parents. Huge thing, huge fight scene. We loved it. We loved every bit of it, especially this huge iconic comic book freeze frame of Iron Man blasting Captain America's shield. It was super cool, and from then on, just huge ending to the fight that needed to be done. And it moves into Phase 3 really well from then on, and the end of the movie just made us want more. So we're so excited for the future of these films.
Excited to see where it goes.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into our overall score, our opinions of the movie. Let's start with Chris.
I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I loved the plot, I loved the story, I loved the characters, I loved the new characters, introduction of SpiderMan. But my honest favorite scene was when Hawkeye shot Ant-Man. That's such an iconic scene in a comic book, so I love that they actually gave that homage to it. So other than that, 8 out of 10.
I'm actually going to agree with my co-host here and give it a solid 8 out of 10 as well. I will say when it came to villains, I actually liked how it didn't feel like there was a real villain in this movie. That was real well done. I loved all the characters. There were so many cool, iconic characters, whether that be Black Panther and his new introduction to it, Ant-Man coming back, awesome Spider-Man intro was just amazing, nailed it. It wasn't a complete masterpiece. It was, real overshadowed by all this, but it was still real good. 8 out of 10. I liked it.
For my overall score, with how good this movie was, there was some little flaws here and there. I'm teetering between an 8 and a 9, so I think I'm just going to agree with my co-host here and say an 8. There was a lot to go off of, like both of them said. The introduction of my favorite character, Spider-Man, amazing. I would have to give it an 8. So yeah.
Real quick before we end the video, just wanted to do a little show off of our shirts. I really like mine.
TV for the win, guys.
Just got it.
Oh yeah. I made mine.
Yeah. And you're going to see more about that in a extras video that we're doing that's going to be our next week's video. Just a little hint at that, which is going to be great. So make sure to stay tuned and check that out.
Yeah, so comment, like, and subscribe.
Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this has been your Signal in the Sky.